everybody. Welcome. Whether you're watching or listening, we are so excited about this conversation that we're about to have with you.
So excited.
Yeah, it's thrilling, honestly. No, but it really is exciting. We're talking about the beautiful, wonderful, my favorite song on our new album,
Found.
The Wander is Over.
It's kind of morphed even in its birth.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now the title is forever just Found/Wanders Over.
Mhm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. We thought it was just going to be found.
Yeah.
And then it became Found/Wanders Over.
It grew up. The song grew up.
Matured.
Yeah.
It became what it needed to be, I think.
Totally. So we just wanted to spend a little time sharing a bit about the process and what it looked like to create it. And obviously not every step of the way, but some of our favorites. So, yeah. Candace, can you paint a picture for us, what the atmosphere was like at the very beginning of writing this song? What did it look like?
Well, it was the first song that you and I wrote together. It was the first day we'd ever collaborated, or really spent a lot of time together, right? And you came over to my house, and this was Thanksgiving break?
Thanksgiving, yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And you came over to my house, and we sat down, and I think you probably thought that we were going to sit down and just write some songs, right?
Yeah.
But I was like, let's just hang out. Let's eat some food. And so that's kind of what we did. But we did eventually. You got the guitar out, and we started working. Just not even working on anything because we were just. I think we showed each other different songs that we'd written, right, in the past. Was that same day?
Yeah, I remember even. It was all the same day. But we show up and there's that time of songwriting, partnerships or funny relationships, and kind of getting to know the way the other person writes can sometimes take a while, and everybody's different. And so me not knowing you at all in general, other than you're like, yeah, I write songs too. I'm like, cool, let's just write a song. Mm-hmm. And showing up, I'm like, yeah, we're gonna be all business. Mm-hmm. We're gonna be sit down. We have an hour and a half blocked out, and we're gonna write for an hour and a half. That was, I remember that being my expectation, and I'm so glad that we didn't do that. Mm-hmm. Especially because this song being the first we ever wrote together, really I feel set the foundation for what we're about. Yeah. And you showed me in this process, especially, throughout the album, the importance of balancing community and productivity. I'm a very taskless person, and you're really, really good at keeping people at the front of priority. And I think that partnership has been so beautiful throughout the whole thing.
Definitely. I think it's it helps us be all around more productive, and in the right way. Yeah. Because I would probably get not very much done. And then you might, I don't know.
I just know, it's always felt like that. Just a good, you have what I need, and I have some elements of things that you need. Yeah. But one thing I learned out of that is that the best creativity comes, when the atmosphere is filled with freedom. Yeah. And that's been our most successful stories too, is does this feel like I have to get a good idea right now, or does it feel like anything goes?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, and I think that's what ended up happening because we were just worshiping, and you got that. Basically, I found what I'm looking for. The chorus.
Mm-hmm.
Found what I'm searching for. It was you, God, always
Mm-hmm.
you. You just started singing that,
Mm-hmm.
and we just hung out there and worshipped there for a while.
Yeah. And I remember, I mean, even I have the recording, and like when I first started doing it, when I first started singing it, you were doing the dishes. Like you can hear the sink
Oh,
behind.
wow.
And I'm like sitting in the chair over here like this.
Yeah.
And then I was like, I like that. And you're like, yeah. And I remember you coming over and joining me in on that. But that's all we sang. We just sang that for so long.
Yeah.
Found what I'm looking for. Found what I'm searching for. It was you, God. Always you, God. And like in that moment was when we were like, okay, what else would this song say? Like, what are we even saying? Like when I heard that, like what is God saying? Kind of like interpreting. Like, okay, I heard one line. Okay, God, what else are you saying about that? Like, why did that come to my head? Found what I'm looking for. What did I find?
Yeah.
You know, because at that point, it's not like I found this one thing and I'm singing about it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's way beyond, like, I didn't know why I was singing that.
Right.
And so then it's like a searching out, God, why did you put those words in my mouth? Kind of thing.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. And then we just started talking about that, and
Mm-hmm.
like, you journaled. We were our conversation basically, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of how we got the meat of the song.
Totally. I remember being like, okay, tell me, like, what was it like when you first felt like you found God? Not even like you said the prayer or like you first went to church, but like the day that you were like, oh,
This is real.
That's God. Like, this is God, and He's like a real person. Like, I felt Him for the first time. Like, I wanted it to feel like you get to that chorus and it brings every person back to like their first love.
Yes.
Like first love with God, you know? Like,
yes.
Oh, wow, you're so amazing. Like, I want to give my whole life to you. Because everybody that's a Christian has had that point. And most people come to the point where they forget that feeling. But I really wanted this song to like encompass that atmosphere of like, right now I found what I was looking for. And it's always been you.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And it does. Yeah. Does it ever? Yeah, and I think every person on our team felt it. Like, when we first did it in Caddo, it was like everybody loved it, but you didn't really experience that, right?
I don't know if it was the congregation not enjoying it as much as like me. Like dynamically, it felt like boring to me when we first did it in church. Kind of like it was staying flat the whole time. And I'm like, if this is like a song that's supposed to be like, wow, I found everything I'm looking for. And it didn't feel musically like that. It felt like, yeah, I found what I'm looking for.
Yeah, it's pretty cool guy, I guess.
Like musically, it didn't match like what I was feeling. And I think that's probably why. And probably because, I don't know, like, yeah. Like, in general, I'm like this. This is kind of funny that even, like, if music I'm listening to on Spotify doesn't match the mood of the moment, I don't like that. Like, I like when, okay, we're, like, chilling right now. I'm going to listen to, like, some indie vibes that really, like, sets the mood. So, like, even when I'm writing, I feel that way. I'm like, well, that's not even the mood right now. Like, that's
Right.
kind of how it felt to me.
Uh-huh.
It was like, it's great, but this isn't the mood at all. It's like playing Justin Bieber at a funeral.
Oh, gosh.
You know?
Yeah.
That's like, maybe not that extreme, but you get the point of what I'm saying. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and so your dissatisfaction with it musically led to when we started workshopping it, getting ready for the album recording.
Mm-hmm.
Originally, I was going to lead it on the album. That's
Mm-hmm.
what we had talked about, and because I loved it, I was like, I 100% love this song. It's great. Like, it's my favorite one,
Mm-hmm.
you know. But we really felt like, well, let's just try it with
Mm-hmm.
Jeremy leading it. And when we did that, then it was able to transform with the female taking the lead later.
Yeah.
And that's where it went like, oh, that's what we found. That's what we were looking for.
Yeah, and before album rehearsals, we didn't even do it anywhere close to that. We still did where we did verse, chorus 1, chorus 2, and low every time. I don't even understand that. Because I always imagined it being, the wonder is over. Yeah. And I think, yeah, I always imagined it being that way. And I think it's just like kind of what we've experienced, like when we're declaring the wander is over, then you're going to like wander for a sec.
Yeah,
like you
we did, right?
The journey of it, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's been a journey. The album was a journey, but the song has gone through a journey too. Probably the most lengthy one.
Yeah, because you originally wrote "The Wander Is Over" as the bridge. Mm-hmm. And then when we were getting ready for Creative Collective one night, we were working on it, and we were just playing it through, and I just started singing "You Can Have All of Me" because it felt like that's what you wanted to do. Like, if you think about it in like, I've been wandering and searching, and then I realize it's you, God, then your heart's response is like surrender, you know? Mm-hmm. Oh my gosh, this is everything. Mm-hmm. I'm going to give you everything of me, right? Mm-hmm. And so then when we did that, it was like, oh no, this is what needed to say. And then the wander's over could be like the declaration, you know, that it ended up becoming. Mm-hmm. But it was definitely a journey. And then I think even at when we went to Creative Retreat is where all of that really journeyed with our team. Yeah. Like, I don't know. It's pretty cool.
I remember I probably was playing it in 4/4 or something because I actually think I know I was playing it in the wrong time signature because it was really like coming out of Why We Came or something. Yeah. So I'm like going in 4/4 and I'm like, whatever, I just flow. So then I wanted to go into You Can Have All of Me, and then we started singing You Can Have It All. Mm-hmm. And I think that was actually originally tagged on Why We Came.
Yeah.
And I think that part became like, let's just tag that on everything. Like, I don't think it's supposed to.
It still tags everything. You can put that on the end of any song and it's
totally
great.
It works in any timing, any key.
It really does.
It really does. And I think it's easy to catch on to, and I've never grown tired of it. And I think, not until rehearsal probably. Like, the rehearsal before the day before the recording did we do that.
The night before
the recording, we were like,
yeah, the dress rehearsal run. We're singing, and it was just the most. I remember that night. We knew we wanted space on the album for spontaneous and prophetic worship. We knew that, but we hadn't planned it because it's like, how do you plan something that's supposed to be spontaneous? You just make room for it. Right. And in that rehearsal that night, it felt like you could sing that song forever. It just felt like it could never end. I remember in that moment when we finally all did stop, all of us were like, wow,
Yeah.
what just happened? Like, God is in this place, like you could touch his presence. It was so tangible. It was amazing. It just felt like our song joined the song of heaven. It just felt like such a holy, sacred moment. Oh, it was awesome. And that was what happened that night. That's the first time we ever tagged that on there.
Yeah.
So,
and I even remember that night, like, whenever the song ended and I was going back to get my guitar to do All the Earth Was After It. And I don't know, I felt like God's presence so thick in the room. And I came back and I was like, actually, I don't think this is over. I don't think this is over. And like, no one's playing anything. And what did I sing? Oh, you're the one I was looking for. You're the one I was searching for.
yeah.
It was you, God. And that was a really, like, honestly, probably like the most significant part of the night for me, because like my personal journey with the song, I mean, most of it was over my head. I think a lot of times I write, it's over my head. Like, writing is more prophetic for me than like a speaking something I've learned. I know a lot of people write like that, and that's amazing. That's just, most of the time I write things that I don't understand, and then I just understand them later.
Yeah.
That's what I mean by prophetic. It's like, these are God's words. I don't understand them yet. And so, like, my journey with that song was, like, when we were writing it at your house, I had been back in Texas for only a few months, and I was still planning on leaving. And I was like, I'm just here for a few months. I'm going to write some songs with this church and lead worship here while I'm here, and that'll be fun. Like, might as well. And I, like how we've been talking about at church, like it being kind of like a going against the idea of wanderlust, like that was 100% my view of the earth. And like, I found a lot of value in travel and meeting lots of different people, and not a lot of value in staying in the same job or in the same place, but more value in experience.
Right.
And I think that was like in me since a child. Like, everyone here, like where I live here, always said like, oh, they're so, like, oh, I can't believe they still live here in Sulphur Springs. Like, you're not going to do that. You'll be way more successful than that. Like, success was tied with moving away. And so that was really difficult for me. Moving back was like, okay, so now I'm going backwards. Like, I always believed that like living here was synonymous with failure.
Right.
And so, anyways, it was written, and like I was wandering for sure. Like, the wander was not over for me. I was like trying to find any way out, And so it was that, and then it was like I would sing when I decided like, oh yeah, I'm for real, I'm here, like these are my people. Then I started singing, I found what I'm looking for in the people God gave me, and not to God. I went through a long season where I'm like, thank you so much, God. Like, these are all the things I asked for. Thank you. And like worshiping God in this song, like worshiping Him, His blessings more than Him.
Wow.
And that moment, and I think I had that revelation, but that moment at recording when I sang, no, you're the one I was looking for. You're the one I was searching for. It was really like, that was like my wander is over moment.
Oh,
And I was like, oh yeah, I don't want to mistake that. You
no.
know, I don't want to ever choose like God's blessings over God, because He's still better than all that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's so good.
So what was your process with The Wander is Over? Like, how did you personally connect with that message?
I think I think somewhat the same. Not that I had wanderlust, but like, because I'm very planted and established. But I think like more along the lines of the dreams in my heart
Mm.
felt like they wandered a lot. Like
Mhm.
what, you know, and it was kind of that same when we would sing that. It just felt like, there's just this rest and that it's like a very planted in a rest, and like I don't have to worry or stress or how God's gonna fulfill my dreams anymore.
Right.
Like kind of the same thing. Like because it's you, God, always you. It really just to know you is it. That's all that
Mhm.
matters.
Mhm.
And so when you're saying the wander is over, it's the wandering around from goal to goal, dream to dream, or like,
Yeah.
just he fulfills it all.
He is complete
And
satisfaction.
yes,
Yeah.
he is, right? Oh, the joy that I found, you satisfy my soul. Like that is just true. Like
Mhm.
it reminds me of an old hymn. I think it's a hymn. I don't know, just old song.
Mhm.
Knowing you, Jesus,
Mhm.
there is no greater thing.
Mhm.
And that's the whole essence of this song. It's like um, the prodigal coming home, and kind of
Mhm.
like we sometimes have. I personally have had more than one prodigal moment in my life
Mhm.
where I've
Totally.
been like, oh God, I'm gonna go figure this out on my own.
Totally.
And so this song, I don't think it ever grows old in
Mhm.
your walk with God, because
Mhm.
you may not have like a walking away, from your faith entirely, but walking away from your satisfaction being in God. I mean,
Mhm.
I've done that plenty of times,
Totally. Totally.
And so for me, it was very much that. It felt like fulfillment of a promise. I don't
Mhm.
know,
Mhm.
because the promise was Him all along,
Yeah.
if that makes sense.
Mhm.
And that when we actually were working on the song, just the whole process of it was beautiful. But the night that we actually recorded it, it felt like you were standing in the middle of a God dream.
Mhm.
He was what you were looking for. It was just so beautiful.
Mhm.
And then it was cool because on the flip end of that, like Jeremy had this powerful moment that night. I didn't even know that he was as moved as he was
I had no idea.
until people told me later. They're like, "What was that song that Jeremy was crying on?" And I'm like, "I don't know. I was in my own like zone
No
there,
idea.
And then when we saw the video, I was like, "Oh my gosh, how beautiful!" I mean, there's just tracks of tears down his face because it was such a powerful moment with God, and everyone in the room could experience it. And I think that I feel that every time I even listen to it. Still, I never knew that I could be a part of something other than like my kids that I was so proud of.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Like you're just so proud and so thankful that you got to be a part of it. I don't know. It sounds silly, but that's how I feel about this song. It feels like it was everybody's experience with God in like one song. I don't know. It's just like a universally
Mhm.
like our heart song. We could all sing it. It's just
Right.
beautiful. And
Yeah.
so yeah.
So tell me, like, during the process of writing songs in general,
Mm-hmm.
there's a lot of what I call, but have been convicted of not calling, bad ideas.
Mm-hmm.
And so, and I've been convicted of that because I don't think that they should be called bad ideas, but more just like not the idea.
Yeah.
And so, like, but for you, because I think this is like one of your specialties, is like what constitutes a good idea? What makes a good idea for you? And how do you evaluate that?
Well, is it like clearly communicated?
Mm-hmm.
Right. I'm I like I like lyrics and melody song that is that catches you but
Mm-hmm.
doesn't confuse you, if that
Mm-hmm.
makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that you can have a balance between like artistic expression and clarity, like, you know,
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't have to be like confusing. And
Right.
so I think too, like I'll read sometimes the lyrics and like it's like overcomplicated. So
Mm-hmm.
just keeping it really simple,
Mm-hmm.
but still elegant. I don't know. I don't know how to explain it, but
See, the
that's just like,
perfect balance.
yeah, like when you look at when you read something like ring it, sing it or read it, does it make sense easily to everybody, but
Mm-hmm.
also make them think,
Mm-hmm.
you know?
Yeah.
Because there's some songs you hear that you're like, okay, I think they were trying to be really creative. But then there's some that you're like, how are they so incredibly creative? You know?
Right.
That's what you want. You want number two, not like, I think they were really going for creativity here, and it's confusing because it's not executed well. Does that
Yeah.
make sense?
Yeah. And I think that's like the difference between like trying to be original and just being you,
Mm,
because you and yourself are like, you being you is original, but when you try to be original you become like someone else.
yeah.
Yeah. And I mean that's what's like probably I've changed the most in my songwriting in the last couple of years. Like leaving Bethel was
Mm-hmm.
Bethel, everyone's trying to be original. And obviously, there is so much greatness that comes out of that house, so it's
Mm-hmm.
not all bad.
Right.
I
No, they're
don't
doing
mean it
a
that
great
way at
job.
all. Yeah, yeah. But if 90% of the city is trying to write songs, like that creative energy is just in the air.
Mm-hmm.
And it's also like you're hearing new stuff all the time. Like, how can I be different than that?
Mm-hmm.
Like, how do I write a song and not say any of those lyrics that any of these 25 people just said? You know, it's
Yeah.
intimidating. And I think that's why most stuff I listen to from that season of my life is really funny, because I'm like, okay, how do I write something that's not any of these people that are writing music? Like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, so that's difficult. But I guess that's why I asked that. I think for me, when I receive somebody else's song to look at or like evaluate or co-write with, I go a lot by like intuition
Mm-hmm.
and feeling.
Yes.
And so most of the time I listen to it like without, like, I don't need to see the words at first. I
Yeah.
just like feel like, where does this need to go? And then I like take note in my mind of like places I guess like I felt disappointed that it went there.
Yep.
So like if
Mm-hmm.
I'm like loving it and then it like goes to a bridge that's not awesome, like the
Yeah.
bridge in itself is fine, but when it gets to the bridge you're like, that's not where I wanted it to go.
Mm-hmm.
And being able to communicate that and like, I think there's a bridge that could support this better,
Right.
or I think that even a new melody would sound good, or what do you really want to say?
Yeah.
And something one of my worship pastors from Canada told me when writing, he said, I would say, I don't know if it's done yet. And he said, well, did you say everything you want to say?
Mm-hmm.
And that, I still think about that when I write. Like, it's done whenever I've said everything that needs to be said. Not whenever it has a verse and a bridge and a chorus, but
Right.
does it say everything it needs to say? You know?
And sometimes I think my process with you a lot of times is especially in the beginning, you would say everything you wanted to say, like in one song.
Yeah.
You're like, no, this song needs to only say this.
Yeah.
Even though your heart wants to say all this other stuff, that's cool. But let's put let's say what this song needs to say. And I think that's what I always try to do, and we do together is what is heaven saying on this? Like, what is God saying? Because we've talked about this before. Like, I believe all the songs are already written, right? They're all God's, the author, and the the creativity, right? And so He's given us all these songs, and it's like they're waiting to be like chiseled out, refined out of us, And so it's like when you can say, "Have I said all I want to say?" When you look at it and you're like, "Yeah, that's all there is on that," and not too much and not too little. Just I don't know.
Well, that's in the same breath as "Did I say everything I need to say?" was like also you can write songs with just pieces and you don't even know what you're saying.
Yeah.
Like there's 3 parts that are really good, but you have no idea what you're trying to.
But they're not a cohesive
come up with.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And so that's a big deal to me. Another tip with that was my friend Zach would always say that the bridge should just be like the same exact idea of the chorus, but said in a different way.
Yeah.
Like, say it in a new way.
Yeah.
And so that obviously that rule doesn't always apply, but even like with found, I found what I'm looking for, and the wander is over is essentially the same thing. You can have all of me is probably better like described as like a
response.
Yeah, or like it's more the way that the song is now. It's more like a instrumental vamp kind of part of the song into a big bridge back down to a chorus. Yeah.
Well, like instrumental vamp, I guess, transition.
Yeah, it really is that way musically. Cool. Do you have anything else about this song that you remember we should talk about?
I don't know. I feel like we've done a good job explaining it.
We've done a really good job.
I hope so.
Yeah.
It's been probably my favorite.
Yeah.
I mean, it had really dark moments. I remember in some of those rehearsals, we were like, this is hard.
Yeah.
But it was worth like pressing through because it ended up being. What I do love about this song and about our team is that this will be the last thing I'm gonna say, is that because this song felt like a personal journey for every person, like everyone could relate to it. It was cool how we did lead the song like in an ebb and flow, like where Jeremy led the majority of the song, and then you took the melody at part, and then I took the melody, and it was like it felt so unified. It was just that part. It was cool. I even in the spontaneous moments, it was like you just gave everybody permission, and you honored what God was doing in the room in the moment, and it never felt like confusing. It was just so, I don't know, it was really cool. And I mean, that's obviously from experience leading together and worshiping together, which was really special.
Yeah.
I think those things you don't just like
happen upon, or it doesn't happen in a day.
No.
Yeah.
And I'm grateful for that. That was a really beautiful part of this song and this album.
Yeah. That was the last thing I wanted to mention too, is just like navigating spontaneous moments. I think it takes trust, not just of worship leaders, but you need, I felt the strength of the band.
Oh, yeah.
In being able to just be like, nope, we're going back, like, not saying go to the chorus chords when you're doing spontaneous stuff, but like, what does it feel, which chords does it feel better on? because
Yeah.
you can flow on whatever chords you want, and we would have sang melody over whatever they played,
Yeah.
you know. But they were so good, each person like hearing the Lord and like prophesying on their own instrument. Like
Awesome.
it's not just words that are prophetic, and that's something that I felt like strongly from the whole team. Like everyone was hearing and feeling like
the sounds of heaven. It was awesome.
Yeah, and just I think navigating a spontaneous moment, it takes respect and honor too, and like believing that like whoever starts singing, like they're hearing from the Lord.
Yeah.
And like choosing to like come up under that and support that.
Mm-hmm.
Even that's something I've always felt like with you, like a spontaneous moment, the room will catch on, but the BGV or the co-lead or whoever has to catch on first. Like if you start singing spontaneous with that person, so if you start singing, you can have it all, and I come up under you, everyone's like, okay, I don't even have words on the screen, but I know we're supposed to be singing that.
Yeah.
And you don't leave that leader on their own.
Yes.
So because it's easy to, like, I don't know what you're about to sing. Like, this isn't scripted, right? But choosing to come up under them, I think that's what makes a spontaneous moment, like, catch on with the congregation.
Yeah.
Like, what is that? That sometimes that looks like echoing you, or you know, like singing under it, not even the words because I don't know what you're gonna sing, or like catching on to what you're going with. So I feel like that's a big deal and a big part of like that was cultivated over many worship nights. And what's special to me about the whole album is how it was like the O's. I guess we could talk about that in a different episode. But like each song took turns based on actual worship experiences.
Yeah.
Not just arranged in a studio.
Yeah, not just because this will sound cool. It was like, this is just what my heart wants to do right now, so let's go. Cool.
Yeah. Cool. So our single is out now. It's been out for almost a month.
Well, right now
3
it's
weeks.
3 weeks. I guess that's almost a month.
Yeah, it's been out 3 weeks. And so if you haven't heard it,
crushing it. Huh? It's just crushing the charts. It's a banger.
Crushing it for sure. So we have more goodness coming your way. So keep your eye out and make sure to check us out on whatever you listen to music on.
Yes.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Cool. Yeah. Quickly, can you pray for us?
Yeah.
And definitely. Then I guess if we hear anything else, we'll go for it. But
okay. God, I thank you so much for your goodness that you didn't leave us wandering or searching. Your word says, if you knock, the door will be open to you. You seek, you'll find. And God, we have experienced that time and time again in our lives, and we're thankful that you are everything we're looking for. I thank you, Lord, that as people listen to this song that are wandering and lost and feeling alone, that they would understand that you've never left them, that you have a plan for their life and it's for good, and you have hope in their future and peace and joy and restoration. God, it's who you are, it's what you do. Just thank you that every person that listens will encounter you in a powerful and personal way. We just thank you what this song has been to each of us and the journey that you've taken us on in creating it, and even the journey in releasing it. And we just look forward to what's going to come because of it, Lord. We thank you for it being a breath of fresh air to those who hear it, Lord. I thank you for our creativity, that it would be stirred up and engaged after this conversation, that we would be challenged to try new things, to co-write with somebody, or even just try a new form of creativity. Maybe somebody needs to start painting that's always wanted to paint, or maybe somebody needs to write some poetry. Whatever it is, God, that you've placed these desires on each of us, I just pray that those awaken now, and that people are activated in their faith, and they're going to go to new levels of creativity with you, and then it's going to bring you glory, God, and it's going to bring good things in their lives as well. I just thank you for our team and what you're doing in the hearts and the lives of our people, Lord. I just thank you for our church and for the leadership that we have, that is so incredibly supportive and just encouraging, and really, we could not do any of this without them. We thank you so much for all that you've given us and what you're doing in and through this song and this album. Just thank you for the honor it is to steward this. In Jesus' name, amen.
And I just want to challenge whoever is listening that think about this, pray about this, journal about this. The time when you felt like you realized the wander was over and that you found what you were looking for. And if you're brave and you want to, send us over some of your stories. I would love to hear stories of when you found what you were looking for, when you found God, when you felt like the wander was over. You can send them to worship@iamonechurch.com, and we'd love to hear those stories.
Yes.
So, I hope you guys have an amazing day. I'm so glad that you have joined us. I love you.
Love you. Have a great night, day, afternoon,
morning.
Yeah, all the.
Yes. All right. Love you.
I was like, oh wait, it's not night everywhere.